Okay, hi everybody. This is Jerry Silverman, and I'm recording this really for folks who want to get a better idea of how to demo ICR. So usually where I'm going to start off is going to be inside of Bridge, and as you can see, I'm using Adobe Drive to connect to a local instance of the CQ server that is running. Now, this is not the ADEP server that's running right now. This is just a CQ server. It could be an ADEP server. A little bit about my setup. I'm running this on my local machine, which is a Windows 7 64-bit image, but then I also have VMware Workstation open back here, and that's got a full ADEP image with ICR running in the background. It also has Indesign open, right? So, and in Indesign there are a couple of files that are open, just the cover images for magazine that we're going to create for Meridian, the City of Meridian Fall 2011 local magazine. So we have the horizontal and vertical InDesign files open in InDesign. And this VMware Workstation is running Windows Server 2008, and it's got Photoshop, InDesign, Bridge, Adobe Drive, and right now I don't have Adobe Drive set up. But just to show you guys what Drive is going to allow you to connect your desktop applications like InDesign and Bridge and stuff like that to the local server that's been set up. So if I wanted to connect just to the ADEP server right here inside of my virtual machine, I would just click Connect, provide my username and password, and I'd be able to connect. Unfortunately, it doesn't work completely all the way through when you look inside of the DAM, in the browser-based view of the DAM, in this particular virtual machine. So I'm doing it a little bit kind of in the VM and also here locally, and I'm going to be switching back and forth. You'll get the picture as I keep going. But anyway, what we want to set up inside of ICR is that creative users of the creative desktop applications like Bridge and InDesign and Photoshop and stuff like that are going to have panel-based and view-based insight into a lifecycle server and into the CQ DAM and into the WCM. So what that means is, I've used Adobe Drive to connect to my local CQ DAM instance, and you can see it's given an IP address here. So inside of the Bridge, I'm just going to go ahead and double-click, and I'll get to see, as it spins up for a second, I'll get to see that I'm connected to a couple of different projects inside of the repository. One is Geometrics, which we all know and love, and one I've created by myself called Meridian Fall 2011. And I created that inside, the DAM interface in the browser. So the story we want to tell is about Meridian, which is the city, the fictitious city that we're creating a publicity campaign for in the fall of this year. And we're going to be creating a campaign around tourism and driving tourism and stuff like that. The campaign consists of a bunch of different pieces. If I double-click on the Meridian Fall 2011, you'll see inside of Bridge, I can come down and kind of make the thumbnails a little bit smaller. And so all of these different folders are created inside of the DAM. So these represent different pieces of the overall Fall 2011 campaign, like the identity, which would include a logo, a magazine, a microsite, a mobile app, some signage, right, like billboards and postcards and stuff like that, and also a video teaser. So inside each one of these folders that I created in CQ DAM, there's going to be some sub-projects. So inside of magazine, for example, we already have a feature article set up. We have an advertisement set up. So as I burrow down, you can see that I've mounted the CQ DAM locally via Drive, via this IP address, and now I can actually look at all the files. So here are some InDesign files that I've created, and here are some links. And there are only 3 links, for this particular file. There's a couple of JPEGs and also a PSD file, right? So here we are. Now, everything that's in here is mirrored in the browser, in the DAM view in the browser. So if I go up to my CQ5 DAM, you see that inside of Meridian, campaign Fall 2011, there's the magazine and all of the other pieces, and we're looking in the links folder, and there's that same MFA .psd, and we can parse through this in a nice structured way. So you'll notice if I double-click that this has, kind of visible metadata fields. It has the renditions that are created. Whenever I upload an image to the DAM, it automatically creates renditions. It'll look at versions, right? So I only have one version right now when I imported this document, and references inside of WCM. Now, if I come back to Bridge and I were to enter some metadata about this, like some creator metadata, for example, this MFA.psd, and let's just say that I said Jerry Silverman, that's me. I created this image, and I come down in Bridge and I just check the little checkbox that says apply. So now that I've applied that metadata, if I come on back to the DAM and I were just to refresh this, just up here in Firefox, if I were to refresh it, you'll see that my creator metadata for that asset actually shows up in the CQ DAM. So that's really nice, really powerful. If you're adding metadata templates to your assets, then that's going to show up inside the DAM without having to create, a separate version, right? So let's go on back to Bridge, and we're actually just going to open this PSD file up by double-clicking it, and that should open up in Adobe Photoshop, which we have right here. Now, the first thing you're going to notice when we open this up is there's a little bit difference between when Photoshop is connected via Adobe Drive to the DAM and when it's not. And probably the most noticeable difference is going to be down at the lower left-hand side when the image loads from the DAM. You'll see that it gives us a notification that this asset is up to date in the repository. In other words, there haven't been any changes since the last version was committed to the DAM. So we're just going to wait another second here because we have a lot of different files that are open right now. So we're just going to give Photoshop a second to catch up. And when we make changes to the Photoshop file that's going to pop up here, Photoshop is actually going to give us a little prompt saying, "Hey, you made a change. Do you want to, check this back in or not?" So down here at the lower left-hand side, you see that little up-to-date notification. And if I went ahead and made a change, like for example, let's say I just turned off this hue and saturation adjustment layer so that now it's a color asset, you'll notice that down here the message has changed to checked out by me. So just in making that one small change to the Photoshop file, I've now checked it out of the repository, and now I can make any changes that I want. So I'll go ahead and close this image. Now, Photoshop is not going to let me get away that easily. It'll say, "Excuse me, don't you want to check this back into the repository and make a new version of it?" You can also not save, or you could resave over it. But I'm just going to check it in because I'd like to version out this asset. And I'll say removed saturation adjustment, because that's what I did. I just turned it off. And now that I click OK, this is all happening inside of Photoshop now. This isn't happening, in the DAM view that we get in the browser. This is happening directly inside of Photoshop. So that's very powerful as a workflow component, that you don't have to go out to some other application to, create that version. So now that it's closed inside of Photoshop, I can come back to the Bridge, and you will notice something over here in the Inspector panel, and that is that we have two versions now, right? We had the original version, and now we have the removed saturation adjustment version over here, and that's the one that we're getting a preview for over here in the preview panel. Now, if I go back over to the DAM, once again, I'm going to refresh the page on this MFA asset, and you'll notice that now it's colorized. We have some new renditions that have automatically been generated by CQ, the CQ DAM. We can see the two versions right here. Of course, we don't have any references yet, so if I come over to our website, and maybe I'll just double-click on English, so I'll get a new tab that'll show us the whole CQ content finder over here, and of course we'll have the sidekick over here. And if I kind of burrow down into the digital assets for this campaign, inside of the magazine, inside of the university stack, right, inside of the links, So our asset should be showing up down in here. And it's not showing up because we have a lot of things loaded onto this machine right now. Again, the faster the machine, one of the reasons I'm not doing this on a Mac, or on my Mac in particular, is because it's not a quad-core machine with 16 gigs of RAM, which this PC is. So this is a screamingly fast PC, and even so, with all this stuff, it kind of chokes. But here we go. Here is my MFA, .psd that we had, and I'm just going to go ahead, right, select this image, drag it in, right, we can crop it or do whatever we want right here inside of WCM. So let's just go back to image, crop it, right, where are my crop constraints? There we go. Well, I'm trying to get my crop constraints. There we go, right, just make that a little bit smaller like so, rule of thirds. Okay, and that's perfect. Now, the real strength of having the DAM connected here is if I come back to this asset, and over here I want to, come back and restore the version in the DAM to the previous version, right, where I imported it, that's black and white, or that's, the hue saturation wasn't removed. So I could do that right here. But one of the nice things is that if I'm a creative, I can just do that right here inside of Bridge. So from this MFA.psd, I can come over here and I can view the versions of the asset. So here are the two versions of the asset. And notice right here, I can right-click on that asset, and I can promote the original version to the current version. And so when I do that, right, and this also contains link files, so version 3 is I'm going to say turned it back to muted tone. So now we're going to have 3 versions in there, which has been, but this one has basically been promoted. So let's go on back. We're going to use our back arrow. Right? Okay, not seeing that version, but I'm not sure why. But let's come on back to CQ one more time, refresh. And it should have been reverted to the original. Yep, see, there it is. And now when I go back to WCM and go back to our site, and I just refresh this site, that's going to be refreshed as well. And we're going to see that image has been reverted back to the original. So we made that change to the website over here in Bridge. That's using Bridge as a content management engine for a website. You've never been able to do that before. That's very, very powerful. I'm not sure a lot of web admins would want to give their creatives that power, but it's there for them if they want it, right? So, okay. So now that we've done that, let's take a step back into our magazine, because remember, we're making a magazine here that has an advertisement, has a feature, but we also want to put in a cover, right? So if I am the artist who's responsible for making the cover, maybe I've played around with some assets on my desktop locally, and I'm going to show you where those are. Well, actually, I don't have them open, so let's just, hold on. I'm just going to open up a new Explorer window. And in that Explorer window, I believe on my desktop, I've got a nice little folder that has our cover assets. And so, if I'm the artist and I've already, started making the cover, I'd want to add it to the DAM at some point. So I, as the artist, would just go ahead and drag all of my art into the appropriate place in the DAM. Notice that I'm just dragging it straight in there. And Bridge is actually going to give me a message. It's going to say, well, hey, you're dragging stuff in there. We need a version comment for that. So I'll say, right, every asset is going to receive this comment, every asset that I'm dragging in from that folder. So I'm just going to comment and say import. So now we'll get an operation in progress dialog that tells us that these assets are making their way over to the DAM. So while that's happening, let's go into our VM over here, and we're going into the Icr Workspace. right? The ICR kind of homepage. So I'm going to log in as Lucien Renard, or L. Renard, who has been set up as the campaign manager for the Meridian campaign. So I'm going to go ahead and sign in. And so Lucien has a team, as you'll see, once we log into the Icr Workspace, and has a bunch of different campaigns that she's working on. A few of them are inactive, but one of them, the Meridian campaign, is active. Now, Lucien has a team of composition artists and reviewers and other stakeholders here. So as you can see, we've got a bunch of campaigns that Lucien is the campaign manager for here in the ICR dashboard, right? And notice that we have our identity over here. We get to see what the state of each campaign is, when they were started, when they're supposed to finish, and when they were created. So this one has a term of about a month, this Meridian Fall 2011. So we're starting it a little bit late, actually. We're starting in late September, and we hope to be done by late October. So if I just double-click and go in here, go into this campaign, and you can make a new campaign up there by the New Campaign button. If I go in and burrow down, you'll see that the same exact projects that I had inside of my DAM are going to be listed out here. Now, I've customized this view a little bit, but we've got a magazine project, we've got a mobile app, a microsite, a video teaser, et cetera, down the list. So each one of these projects is marked in blue in this timeline, and this is a project timeline that shows us from September 26th to October 26th, the entire campaign with all of our projects laid out. And we have a little key down at the bottom left that shows us, a blue timeline, or, part of this Gantt chart is a project, such as a magazine, or, you got to think of it as a component of the overall campaign. And then each project has an asset associated with it. So, this magazine has an advertisement, it has a feature article, and we're going to add a cover in just a little bit, right? A mobile app is going to have a splash screen and other elements associated with it. Notice when I roll over each project that it shows me the start date, end date, and the status of that project and how how each one of those assets are doing. So you see down here in the key that there are also, there should be little red blocks for stages. In other words, what stage are we at with each one of these assets? Because this is live right now. So if I twirl down advertisement, we're going to see that there are 3 different stages associated with creating this ad. And each stage looks like the create stage is going to be 3 days long, from October 3rd to October 6th. The review stage is going to be 3 days long, from October 6th to October 9th. And then the approval stage is going to be 2 days, from October 9th to October 11th. So notice I've got a little disclosure triangle. If I fold that down, the creation stage actually has a participant assigned to it, and that participant's name is Conrad Sims. And so he's got 3 days as of October 3rd to create the advertisement that we were just looking at. Now, he's already done a lot of that work, but he's going to have 3 days to create it. Then when I twirl down the disclosure triangle, you'll see that the review phase actually has to involve 3 people, not just one. It has to involve Lucien, right, the campaign manager, and she's got a little star inside of her speech bubble icon there, and Rye Woodard and Yakov Goldman don't have stars inside of the speech. What does that mean? So what that means, if I come down to the key on the lower left, you'll see that if a reviewer is mandatory, then they're going to have a little star inside of the speech bubble. If a reviewer is not mandatory, in other words, it's not required that they fulfill the review in order to move on to the next phase, which is the approval phase, then they'll have the speech bubble without a star in it. So if I twirl down the approve triangle, you'll see that Lucien actually has to review, and she also has to approve these assets. And so approvers are marked with a little check mark here. And so this schedule has been applied to the advertisement asset. It's also been applied, a similar schedule has been applied to the feature asset, although you see this schedule is a little bit longer, right, from October 6th to 16th. So that's a 10-day create cycle because the feature article is going to take a lot longer to make. So we set up those schedules up here in the Schedules tab of the ICR dashboard. And notice we've got a whole bunch of different schedules. The Meridian Long and Meridian Typical are the 2 schedules that we've created here. And inside these schedules, if I double-click, you can see that we can add a description, We can set up how the commenting will work, and here's where we set up the different stages, the create, review, and approve stage, and we set up from when and to when those happen, and we also set up the specific roles of our participants and individuals who are going to take part in this review and approval cycle. So if I go into roles, you'll notice that Conrad Sims has been tagged in the create cycle, right? And if I roll that back down, although I'm having a little bit of lag here, I'm not sure why, but so Conrad should be in that little disclosure triangle if I were able to get to it. And seems like my server is kind of bogging down a little bit. So I am going to come on back to, oh, no, now we're good. So let's have a look inside of our create, right? Conrad has been tagged in there. And so this is where you actually go through for each piece and you assign the roles. So now that I'm inside of a review cycle, you'll notice that we get a bunch of different options about whether you want it to be a concurrent or a serial review. If you look into the tasks, right, we want all of the review tasks sent to the task list. And here are the different roles that we've set up. And we can add personnel from our LDAP if we want in to be reviewers. And then it works pretty much the same way for approvals, except there's something nice in here with the roles and then the signature where if you want somebody to apply a digital signature at the end of the approval process to make sure that it's them who did the approval, you can do that, or you can apply a pre-made digital certificate. So that's just a kind of a bird's eye look at how the schedules are set up, but schedules have already been assigned in all of these various projects. So I'm just going to fold them back up, and as we said, we want to create a cover asset that our artists, now that we have loaded our assets into the DAM, we want those assets to basically be put through a review and approval process. Let's go ahead and create a new cover asset. So I come up to my flyout and I say new asset, and this one's going to be called cover with today's date, right? And we don't need to upload anything because we're going to upload that from Indesign. And the cover is going to go from today, and we'll just make it like a, an 8-day, an 8 or 9 day thing. Let's say right now it's 8 days, so that's fine. I'll go ahead. We're going to give 8 days for the entire create, review, and approve process for this cover. And there's our cover asset right there. Now, since we have already applied schedules to each one of our assets in this project, notice that a default 7-day schedule is assigned, and this is the Meridian typical schedule, has been assigned to this asset. And that's great. All we have to do now to push this live into production so that the create stage can actually go through and the assignment can go out to Conrad Sims, the artist, to be able to make that cover, is I would come up into my options and I would say activate selected, right? I'm going to activate that cover. And so now that I'm activating it, ICR should give me a nice little notification that says that cover has been activated. We're going to wait one more second for that. And then once it gives us the A-OK, yep, there we go, the asset, the cover has been successfully created. I'm going to say OK. And now I'm going to come on over into InDesign, and we're going to make pretend that I am Conrad Sims, that artist, who has put together a horizontal and a vertical layout for my digital publication in InDesign. So I'm going to come on over in my panels on the right-hand side of InDesign to my task list panel that I've created using the ICR task list panel extension creator, which is an extension that you get when you download ICR to create a custom task list panel. And so as you can see, I've already got my credentials in here for Conrad Sims, and the password, usually the password is just password. So I'm going to sign in, and notice it's connecting to the server, right, my local server, to get the notification list. And I'm going to have a notification right here that says I've got a new task to work on the cover. Let's see, what is this new task? Well, I could accept it right here, or I could just click on it and get the supporting documentation. So I'll notice who the project owner is, what the project name is, what the name of the campaign is, when it's due, right? So I know that it's due in 3 days from now, so I better get cracking. And I can either accept or decline that. I'm going to go ahead and accept it. And now my notification window is blank. Oh, no, task has been successfully submitted. Right, if I refresh that, it should tell me that I successfully, oh no, I haven't submitted it, I've just accepted it. So if I go into, my little window here, you can see that I've already submitted, a bunch of those tasks. So in my active task, due this week by Friday, September 30th, I've got, this new cover asset, and you can see it tells me that it's due this week. So now if I click on that task that I now need to go through and fulfill, it gives me some options down here, either to submit my completed work, in other words, package up the fonts and the links and everything from my InDesign file and submit that to the DAM, or I could just submit my completed work as a PDF to be commented on. So that's actually what I'm going to do. So I'm going to just submit this file, and it's actually going to look out and see where that file is. So I'm going to select my cover H, and that is living on the DAM. That cover _ H is living in the DAM. So I'm going to say my first pass at a cover, what do you think? Right? And I'm going to go ahead and upload it. And as you'll see, it's creating, so the ADEP server, or the ICR server in the background, is creating a PDF that I can then go through and review. All right, so my task has been submitted. I'm going to go ahead and check my notifications panel. I haven't recently completed this, but I'm going to check my notifications panel over here and refresh that. And you'll notice that my task has successfully been submitted. I have submitted the work. And so now we'll switch gears. What happens is Lucienne, the campaign administrator, is going to basically receive an email saying, hey, guess what? Conrad Sims just submitted his work to the repository. You need to now go check it out and let us know what you think. So I'm going to come over here to another tab in my Windows Explorer, and that's looking at the ADEP Workspace. Right, so all of these links up here are should be set up with your Quick Start, but all I did was click on the ADEP Workspace. So I'm going to come in to the workspace and log in as L. Renard with the password. Go ahead and click Login, and this should get me straight into the Lifecycle, well, formerly known as Lifecycle, now the ADEP Workspace, as Lucienne, who is the reviewer. She is the mandatory reviewer of this process, of this cover asset that we just uploaded to the DAM. So ADEP is going to be looking at the DAM, and right now I don't appear to have any tasks. But if I go ahead and click, it's just going to take a minute or two to refresh. If I actually refresh this, it would come up as to do one. But I'm just going to go ahead and click my task list. When you're demoing, if that doesn't happen, you can just refresh the screen. All right, so there we go. I actually, as the reviewer and the campaign manager, I have two tasks. Not only do I have to review, but I also have to monitor and review all of those comments, right? So I'm going to go ahead and just accept the review of this document. I'm going to click once on that task that has been set out for me, the campaign manager. And look what's loading up in here. Of course, it's Acrobat Reader, which is on 90% of PCs. And we're all familiar with how to put sticky notes and how to do comments using Acrobat Reader. So this should be pretty much a no-brainer for our customers to wrap their heads around, when it comes to understanding how this solution works. But remember, we submitted the PDF that we're going to be reviewing here straight out of InDesign up to the server, so that it all kind of works seamlessly. The ADEP server, the ICR, which commanded that the cover be created, everything is kind of nicely integrated together, the desktop tools and the back-end server tools in one unified system. So the first time you launch this up, it actually takes a while for the PDF to go through to get up there. But you'll notice that we get a shared review notification that we are going to join that shared review as Lucienne, right? We're connected to that ADEP host, which in our case is localhost. You can see all of the other reviewers, right, Yakov and Rai, who have been added to this review. And now we can go through and actually perform this review with the wonderful commenting tools that we have available to us. And notice here's that PDF coming straight through from InDesign, rendered in the Document Services workspace. So I'm just going to, take out some text or whatever just for fun. Let's see, vows to be, or let's just say, instead of vows to be, it is the most sustainable city on earth. And so now that I've done that review, I'm going to mark the review complete. I'm not going to say needs rework, because that'll be a whole other process. I'm just going to mark this review as complete. And I could have published the comments also, but I really just wanted to mark the review as complete. So now Lucienne has not only seen it, but she's also monitored all of the comments, right? If there were other comments coming in from Rai or Yakov, she would have seen those kind of filtering in to that little comment panel. And now if she just logs out, I'm going to log her out and log her back in, because she's also the approver in this process, right? So yes, I'm sure I want to log out. So after I log her back in, you'll see that she is actually the, she's actually also been set up as we did in the ICR. In the ICR workflow here, we set her up as the approver. So if I come back in, she should get a task pretty shortly coming from the ADEP document services. Aha, there we go. And it says, right, you now need to approve this document, right? So I'm going to go ahead and click on the task to go ahead and approve this document. So it's going to load up one more time inside of Reader. And then I, as the official approver of this document, can come on down in here and just click approve. Now I'm going to wait until it renders inside of Reader, because who knows what could happen to me if it didn't render correctly before I approve it. It'll probably punish me or something. But once I approve it, then it's going to go out to our digital publishing suite. And that's something that's not automated at this point. I'm going to have to actually do some work to get it out to the digital publishing suite once Lucienne has approved it. So in other words, at this point, the approval is going to, Conrad will be notified by email. You can set that up inside of Document Services that Conrad and all of the stakeholders will be notified via email that the approval has taken place and this asset is ready to go into production. You can send it to the printer. You can put it up on DPS. You can, you can pretty much use it as you desire. And so, come on, Document Services, let's keep going now, because we got to get this asset approved. And of course, while we're waiting, you could look in the task details to see all the different, metadata that's associated with this task. But sometimes I guess Reader doesn't really want to, comply with us at this moment. Come on, baby. Sometimes you got to talk nice to it. Anyway, once that goes through and Lucienne can approve the asset, it'll actually show back up the create and review stage will actually show back up inside of ICR. So let's actually look at that for a second. If I click the refresh button here in ICR, you'll see that the create and review stages have actually shortened down, because ICR, this dashboard, is actually looking at the real time of when the creation and review. So notice that it says that the create state has completed. It started today and it ended today, and also the review review schedule was completed today. So that's pretty nice. Now if I come back to Workspace, let's see, is Reader, whoa, that's pretty trippy. We're getting Reader and ICR together. That's always be careful what you what you wish for. So I'm going to go ahead and just click approve, because I want to get this approval done. So the approval should work once we click that, and that'll be all done with Lucienne. And we'll come back here, and the approval will also be checked off as complete. So then Conrad gets the email that, hey, you can now upload this, your cover to the Adobe Digital Publishing Suite. So that's what Conrad's going to do right now. He's going to come on over into InDesign, and he's going to, after he received that email, he's going to go ahead and upload his InDesign document as a digital publication, right? And that's what's really exciting about the offerings under DPS, is that the same document that you're going through the whole review and approval, and the same document that's going out to print is the same one that's going out to be an interactive document. So we have two versions of this document. Once again, we have a cover_V and a cover_H, the horizontal and vertical. And so in InDesign CS 5.5, you've got this Folio Builder panel that's part of the Digital Publishing Suite that when I pop it open here, this is going out to Adobe servers. If I have an enterprise or a professional subscription to the Digital Publishing Suite, then I can sign in with my LDAP creds if I'm, if I've entered those into adobe.com, and I have a publication here, right? See that local fall with the university ad like we had before and Two Wheels Good. If I double click inside of these articles, I can see little previews of the landscape layout and the portrait layout. If I double click here, I can see what the Two Wheels Good landscape and portrait layouts for that feature article are going to be. But I actually need a new article inside of my magazine to be the cover. So I'm going to go ahead and add the open document, the active document. So I'm just going to go ahead and add that. I'll call it cover. I'll make the JPEG quality medium. So I'll go ahead and start uploading that. And as you see, we're uploading that article. Now over here, inside of Firefox, inside of the Digital Publishing Suite dashboard that we have on acrobat.com, right? It's digitalpublishing.acrobat.com. If I click on the Folio Producer button, then I'll actually be able to get in and look at the magazines that I have queued up ready to go out to my servers. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the local Fall 2011 magazine inside of the Digital Publishing Suite dashboard, and you'll see that I've now uploaded my cover. Well, it hasn't quite loaded yet because it's still uploading. So let's head on back to InDesign for a sec. Let's see, there's our cover, right? There's our landscape layout. If I come on back, let's see. Well, it doesn't look like we're getting a preview. Oh, I know why, because we uploaded the landscape layout, but we're looking at this in portrait layout. So let's look at this in landscape layout. Right, if we look at this in landscape layout, you'll see, aha, there's our cover. But it's loaded in last instead of first. That's very easy. Inside of our Digital Publishing Suite dashboard, we can just drag that right over to be the first. And let's add some metadata here. We'll call the title New Day, New. All right, having a little lag with the text there. All right, come on, Dave. All right, well, while we're waiting for that to stop lagging, we can come in because we need to add that vertical layout so that when we orient our tablet, that will orient as well. So I'm going to go ahead and add the active document, which is the vertical layout. So I'm going to go ahead and add that in. You can see that it's updating, right? We've built the folio and uploading the vertical or the portrait layout, right? And there we go. We have two layouts, a landscape layout and a portrait layout. If I come on back to the DPS, dashboard here in just a second. All right. Oh, what happened? Oh boy. Looks like DPS is not wanting to play nice with me today. Looks like we're having some Firefox lagging issues. So this is what can happen during a demo. You have to just kind of, chat it up a little bit and make like everything is hunky-dory when really the whole thing is dying. So I'll show you as, we're waiting for that. That's basically all we've had to do inside of InDesign. Because now if I come on back, right, we've got our cover, we've got our university ad, and our Two Wheels Good. And so everything should be set up exactly the way that we want it. So that's all we need InDesign for. If I come back and have a look at the DPS dashboard, it's looking like it's not wanting to participate with me. But of course, these are the risks that we take in having an online service for DPS instead of something behind the firewall. But even firewall servers can sometimes have issues as well. But the service, let's actually, let's see. Yeah, no, Firefox is definitely not responding here. But what you get towards the end, if I can bring up my camera app here, is you see here is my iPad application, or this is just my standard iPad, and I've got down here in the corner the Adobe Viewer App, and that's what I'm loading my publications into. And of course, we could brand that to whatever we want. And so here are my magazines. I do have an update available for this particular magazine. So notice that it tells me that an updated version is available. Do I want to update now? Yes. And now the change that I've made to that folio is only going to be is going to be visible here. And it looks like I have to download the whole thing in order to see it. Usually when you create that update inside of DPS, it only updates the portion that you added or subtracted, and it doesn't update the whole thing. So let's actually, yeah, it looks like Firefox really just crashed and burned really hard, and we're uploading that new article here. But in just a few minutes, that magazine is going to come in here into the Digital Publishing Suite with the cover included and the advertisement and the feature article kind of all bundled together in one magazine app that I can then view. So let's actually, I'll have a look at this one, which is already viewed. So this is that ad, and this is that feature article. Right, when I roll down, the Digital Publishing Suite gives you a lot of functionality to do 360-degree panoramas, to connect to a Twitter feed, right? So that's an actual HTML frame that's inside of our digital publication. It allows you to do video. So I've got a nice little video that's running right there with some playback controls. And of course, this whole thing, since we've done a vertical and a horizontal version, we get the reorientation, right? This one is a pinch and zoom. Through here, it's a nice little kind of interactive map that allows you to touch and view different pieces on the map. That's really nice. And then we can go back and forth between the different pieces of the magazine. Now, we haven't loaded the cover into this one right now, but I can come back home and see how, looks like our download was paused because I was viewing something else. So yeah, that is just really a taste of how all of our technologies, from the desktop to the ADEP servers, can all function and work together. So I hope this overview was helpful to you, and I hope you will be able to use it going forward while you're gearing yourself up to be able to show ICR and be able to show kind of the breadth of our technology stack. So again, this is Jerry Silverman. Thank you so much, and thanks for watching. Take care and be in touch.